Good morning, grade 9s, and welcome back to Quarantine English with Mr. Fouché. Today we'll be doing activity 4, which is on page 156. It is just a short cartoon, so we're not doing a lot of work today. But in this cartoon, we do have a very controversial, well, perhaps not too controversial, but yes, it's something people do not like to discuss very often, situation. So I'm not going to sketch this one on the board, it would take too long. But to generally explain what is going on in this cartoon, and that's if you are on page 156, then you should be able to follow along, you will see that there is a board meeting. Okay, so around the table where everyone who is important is, you will find that everyone is a lady. And there's one man who is standing and he's asked to go and make some tea for the rest of them. So they are trying to use humor here to show you what the roles are, or, well, not the roles, let's say the general roles given to different genders. Usually, it would be a lady who would be asked to make refreshments, and that's what they are playing on in this cartoon. So let's go through the questions, and then you can see what I'm on about. So question 1 asks you, what was the first reaction, or your first reaction? And then you had to explain. So there are many reactions that we can write down here because everyone is going to react differently. Some people might find it, like I do, amusing, which makes sense because cartoons are meant to use humor to give out an idea or to tell someone something. They always use humor. Sometimes it might be dark, sometimes it might be light-hearted. This one I would say is a more light-hearted one, a little jab at the other gender. You might find it, let's say you might be offended by it. You can write that down as well. However, I don't think they are trying to offend anyone, but this can happen as well. So there are many responses that you can write down here. That's of your own choosing. Question 2. What is unusual about the cartoon? And here you can write down, very simply put, role reversals. So a role reversal, and then in brackets you can say between male and female. Okay, so what they're doing here is, in your typical picture, a board meeting, then there would be men that are in charge. I'm not saying this is always the case. Obviously, we live in a different society now. But in the general sense, people would think a person in charge to be male. And now everyone around the table is female. So a role reversal there. Same thing with the person who is asked to make tea. In this case, is a male, where usually in your typical idea, I would say, it would be a female or a lady. Okay, so the roles have been reversed. That is something that is very odd about this. That's what makes this humorous. We get on to 3. What do you think the man has, or why he has such a surprised expression on his face? You can say here it's not a conventional thing for a man to do, so that might be an answer. Let's just write it down here. Not conventional. Man to make tea. Okay, there you go. Now something to think about, this cartoon is being very specific in their roles. They are generalizing in that, which is, in the real world, incorrect. As most of you know, as you watch this video, you might think, but that's not always the case. And you are right, okay? But here they are just trying to be funny, so they are giving definitive attributes to a male and definitive attributes to a female, and they are trying to run with it, trying to make it funny. Okay, so here we've got not conventional for a man to make tea. So that is why he is shocked, because suddenly he's being asked to do something that he would not expect of him to be asked. Okay. I'm going to erase this in order to make some more space for the other questions. And there are only 6 of them, so we are halfway there, grade 9s. Now, we get to question 4. And here they ask us, what am I doing there? There we go. So, 4. What do you think is the chairperson's reason for the request? So here, you might ask yourself, why is she singling out this man? And it might be her abusing her power. Okay? So abusing her power, that's a good answer to write down. Okay. Which means she is able to break convention using the power that she has. So she is the boss here, the chairperson, which is at the top of this board meeting. And she can make decisions as to who needs to go make tea and who can stay here. So she is abusing her power. This might also refer to how men throughout history have abused their powers as well, where if you are very strong, you tend to oppress the weak, which is something they are playing with here in the gender roles. Let's continue on to question 5. Now, question 5 asks, do you think it is a reasonable request? And yes, grade 9s, this one is going to be dependent on what you think. Some of you might say, no, not really. So here you can write, I'll write down your own answer. Now, answers that can be expected, if you say, yes, it is reasonable, then you might say, it's just fair, perhaps, in this cartoon now, that, men have ordered around women everywhere, and now the women can order this man around. You might say it's fair, so then you can write down yes. You might also write, because I think a reasonable request, you might think it's amusing, so it was funny to you, you can write that down as well. If you want to say no, it is not something that you can say is a reasonable request, perhaps you can say, well, if that was the problem of men abusing their power, then the solution definitely can't be women abusing their power. Otherwise, you're going to get the same result, just in a different direction. There is a good way of explaining it as well. But as I said, this is a very subjective question. It will depend on your opinion about it. Now let's continue on to question 6, which is the last one. What point do you think the cartoonist is trying to make? Okay, the cartoonist here is, in a way, trying in a funny way now, to say that men and women should be treated equally. Okay, so we've got 6, men and women should be treated equally. Yeah, there we go. So, why they have done this is they have reversed the roles, and because now, when you look at this cartoon, you think that that's strange, which makes you realize, but if I think about this picture in the real world with men around the table and them asking a lady to go make tea, then that should be strange as well, if this is strange, if this cartoon is strange. Because we realize this, we finally understand that it doesn't matter if you are a man or a woman. There's not always a convention for a gender. Okay, it depends on person to person, rather than if you are a male, you are going to sit around a boardroom meeting with power, and if you are a lady, you are going to make tea for everyone for the rest of your life. Okay, there aren't such definitive roles for genders. And that is what this cartoon is trying to say. Now, that is it for our lesson today. I think it was a very short one. Not sure how long, but not very long as per usual. So thank you very much for tuning in to Quarantine English, and enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe.